Michelle Manriquez from Drop That Brush. We want to help people who are non-artists become artists. Like, subscribe, and ring that bell, please. Our last two videos, we've talked about the elements of line, direction, shape, color, value. The final is texture and size. Let's talk about texture first. About the three kinds of textures that you can get with a brush. There are some other kinds of texture using plastic wrap, salt. There's multiple ways that you can get some texture in that painting. First is soft, which is your wet and wet procedure, or we soften an edge. And things that would be like anything that you think soft, that would be animals, kittens, children. Clouds could be soft. Also, you should use the edges of the paper to use a soft edge. And that creates my passage to the hard-edged focal point. A hard edge is where you're putting your wash on and you don't soften any edges. Typically use that more towards the focus area of the painting. And some things that were great, hard edges specifically, would be things like metal, glass, a house, water. The third type is rough edges, dry on wet, but a little less water. And it's based upon a rapid stroke. One of the other things that I would kind of add as the rough edge would be putting plastic wrap or salt on it. Splashing water could also give it a more rough edge. So you need to pay attention about your rough edges, because what happens is that rough texture, your eye will focus there. So if you put that on the side of your paper, what you'll do is actually focus over in that rough edge, not necessarily your focal point. So when you're doing your focal point, it's kind of nice to, if you're going to do a little bit of rough, use it there. Some things you would use on rough edge: rocks, wood, trees, water. You want to focus the attention to the subject. If it's a child should be soft, at least I think. Very soft, very flowy edges. If I am going to do a rock, rough edges. The last element of design is actually size. Though I know I've brought it up multiple times, I'm just going to bring it up one more time that we're very clear that this is a part of the elements. Papa, mama, baby. Now, it's not just size. It can be papa, mama, baby of line, papa, mama, baby of anything in the design elements. You use size to make variations in your painting, to make it more exciting. You want to take every shape and vary it. So you don't want the same size flower throughout the picture. Some littler, some bigger. Not always, but most time, a large shape will be the focal point in your painting. We've covered the elements of design, and they include line, shape, direction, value, color, size, and texture. There will be another video about to make texture. I figure that's something that you need to work on, but I just want to make sure that you're aware of it for an element of design. The most important principle of design is dominance with repetition, because your eye likes to repeat things, but using it with variation. So let's talk about that. Dominance, I actually looked it up because I was curious. Power and influence of another. So I'm thinking about design. What is the most important part of your picture? Normally your focal point. Everything else is just simply a secondary player. How do I make something dominant in your painting. Make it happen more often. If I have a major amount of boats and those little lines going up and down, that's dominance of line with a whole bunch of boats. Make it a larger size than everything else. Make it brighter, more exciting colors. Another way, and probably my most frequent one, is lightest light to darkest dark, contrast in my focal point. We're going to talk about each one of the elements. So the first one is line. If you have line, again, with boats, it's a vertical line. Landscapes, typically it's a horizontal line. So try to make your line work, whichever one you choose, dominant. The next one would be direction. Could be if you have a house sitting on top of another house, directly on top of it, or if you have a flower and sitting on top, that's a bad design. And think about it, it's kind of boring, straight down. Now, horizontal shape is okay. You know, I've got this house to that house, it's all right. Then, how do you make things exciting? You use an oblique line and direction. So if you've got oblique work, this is a much more exciting design. Let's talk about shape. What's dominant in shape? Well, if I make a whole bunch of houses, that will be dominant. A whole bunch of boat shapes, that's your dominant shape. If you're going to do a whole bunch of flowers, oval will be your shape. Let's talk about value and dominance. Value is your best friend. Value is a lot important than probably the rest of it. I can do any picture. If I use my values, dark to light, for the white of the paper, it will pop out everything. Else won't be as important. An idea was if I had somebody in the picture, I may leave a white shirt and make sure that right close to it that there will be something dark around it. We talked about color, pretty much cool or warm, and texture. You know, it's interesting. Some people only do hard texture, do the picture exact. That's not my thing. But, you know, they're beautiful. They have some gorgeous artwork that are very, very hard. Some people do a good mixture of both, some soft edges, but mainly hard. Dawn Andrews does all of these soft textured paintings. So, you know, it's kind of what you're looking for. But let's go back to dominance real fast. Anything you do of those elements, whether it be value, color, line, direction, make one of them dominant, and that would be your Papa Bear. Put a little, if everything is straight up, make a movement horizontal. That would be your mama. And maybe just a little bit of movement someplace else that would work with that. So think about the size of each element. So you know that Papa Bear is going to be the dominant one. Then Mama Bear is just something to make it interesting. So you're not everything going up, but maybe a house, or maybe if everything's vertical, something going up just to make it more interesting. And of course, size is the biggest one typically is, but not always. What if I choose in my picture to have the brightest red bucket? It's not that big, but it's the most vibrant of everything else. That actually could be your focal point, not the largest house. You do not need all of the elements of design to be dominant. Typically, 3 or 4 is plenty. The ones that I use all the time are value and size. Then I would determine which one I feel that the lines would be important to me. whether it's texture or whether it's color, because I do like color, I will pick 3 or 4 dominant elements. The second most and principle of design is repetition, because your eye likes things that are repetitive, but with variation. And we also don't like boring. What you want to do is do not follow the picture. Look to see what repetition are in the picture. But please do not make the fence exactly perfect. Make it fun. Make it interesting. There is an entertainment value in repetition with variation. It's really important that you look for anything that's really kind of a boring thing and see what you can do to make it more fun, to change it up. Your eyes love changes. If you give a very boring painting horizontal lines and there's no actual variation, you're going to go next to the next picture and look, because we look for things that are a little exciting, that have meaning to us. This first picture is how a lot of people do it. The picture shows that the trees are 1, 2, 3, 4, boring, or fence posts, 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe they did aerial space and it's perfectly the correct amount. Then what would be better would be if I have boards in the picture, fix it. I would make those boards fat, thin. Some of the boards actually dropping, like they're old. What you want to do is not just paint the picture, but actually design the picture. Everything else should actually be secondary players. Simplify the shape. Many times there are multiple stars, and it's your job to determine which is your star. House could be a star. The beautiful sunset could be the star. The waterfall can be the star. Those are 3 pictures. Those aren't one picture, they're actually 3 pictures. And each one would be handled in a different way, design-wise. So you really need to look at what turns you on of that particular picture. Focus on that. And if you've looked back and you think, oh, that's really pretty, paint another one, but don't do things that will compete with the star. So you're not sure which is important. Make sure that you have nothing that is blocking your way. If you've got you see a lot of fences because you're taking pictures and there happens to be a fence, you want to break that up. If you really, really need a fence, probably not. I would just let it go. But say I love the fence, I would tip it, make one down that you could literally walk into the picture. So if anything's blocking your star, then get rid of it or change it up. But make sure that you're not blocking what's important, your star. There are multiple principles of design, but truly, I believe if you've got dominance and repetition with alternation, those are the big ones to me. Somebody else may feel differently, but this is one girl's opinion. Next week, I'm going to start doing some of the basic of watercolor. When you don't know what you're doing and you're playing, drop that brush. You have a wonderful day, and you know what? Take care out there. Bye.